But she might have been just another confused child of the 1960s looking for the way ahead had she not met Charles Manson. Born in 1949 and raised in Altadena, a comfortable suburb of Pasadena, as a teenager Van Houten was a student at Monrovia High School and was twice elected homecoming queen. Her father was supportive, but her mother had expectations for her daughter that Van Houten could not meet. Other kids had curfews, and they had consequences. If you stay out to 11, you're going to be grounded for 3 weeks, Van Houten said. My mom would say, I don't have to do that because you will never let me down, and so I felt that I always had to anticipate what her expectation was of me. Van Houten's life began to crumble in 1964 when her parents divorced. Without focus or the guidance she needed, her world began to shift toward drugs. As a child, Suzanne Cosgrove had a desperate prayer that the gypsies would come to take her away. Cosgrove was born in 1950, a year after Van Houten, and her family lived in Westchester, a suburb near the Los Angeles International Airport. After her parents divorced in 1963, Cosgrove lived with her mother in, among other places, Eagle Rock, a few minutes from the Van Houtens in Altadena. I was a daredevil as a little kid, Cosgrove said. I would climb walls and trees and made up a lot of stories, pirate ships and dinosaurs. But even as a child, Cosgrove felt a disconnect at home. Even when I was 5 or 6 years old, I really didn't feel like I belonged with my parents, Cosgrove said. I wanted gypsies to come for me. The problem was simple but tragic. Her father was an alcoholic, the child of blackout drunks. Even when Cosgrove's mother encouraged him to attend medical school, partly as a distraction, the drinking didn't stop. Beer was his drink, said Cosgrove. I don't remember seeing him sober until late in his life. He was a controlled alcoholic even after he graduated from medical school. There was also lots of alcohol on Mother's side of the family, said Cosgrove. They were always actively drinking when we visited. They would fight or wind up passed out on the front lawn. Lots of drunk stuff. I used to listen to them and say, I never want to be like that. By then, Cosgrove had moved with her mother across Los Angeles to Redondo Beach, where she started at Miracosta High School. At Miracosta, Cosgrove met Sheila Elkind, and together they worked on La Otra Vista, the school's underground newspaper. But because the paper was subversive, the school would not allow them to use a room for their meetings. Instead, the staff met at Sheila's family home in Manhattan Beach. That's how I met the Elkinds, said Cosgrove, by working on an underground newspaper. Cosgrove and Elkind were involved in many of the counterculture adventures of the 1960s, even at one point creating their own political party, the Love Party. But for Cosgrove's mother, a conservative Republican, politics and her daughter did not mix. It was one of many rifts that would develop between them. I used to tell my mother that I was going to visit Sheila, but we were really going to anti-war demonstrations, recalled Cosgrove. My mother was very conservative and didn't believe in it. Her mother had remarried, and in Cosgrove's teen years the divisions between them deepened. I was becoming less and less controllable. My mother and I would fight all the time, Cosgrove said. She was always complaining about me. At one point I asked her for my dad's child support money so I could move out on my own and finish high school, but she refused. For Cosgrove, there was no good alternative. Her mother was also drinking. Moving in with her father, who was either never at home while in medical school or else drinking himself to sleep, was no help. But unlike many marginalized youth, Cosgrove did not want to be on her own. She needed a family. All I really wanted was a home, said Cosgrove. I wanted to run away because it wasn't a home. I was actively looking for a way out. When Van Houten's parents separated, she perceived her family's status in the community began to change. I became someone who lived in a single-parent household, which in that community had its own stigma, said Van Houten. My dad told me he was leaving before my mom knew, which caused real friction between us. I was very close to him and resented her.